Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
It's 6:07 on this Wednesday morning in your nation's capital. A little bit safer now, apparently, based on some arrests and some police presence. And it's weird. It's like you start arresting criminals and you start laying down the law. You start respecting the chain of command, and suddenly...
Chain of command? What does that mean?
What the heck is that?
Command is now?
What does that mean?
Well, is it?
Don't throw your big words at me, Larry. You and this and quizzes this morning.
Coming up in 30 minutes, we will ask Cal Thomas about the chain of command in the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department. See if he's got a better answer than our fearless chief of police. Then at 7:05, Byron York, 8:05, Noah Landini, and at 8:35, the Attorney General of Virginia, Jason Miyares. We've been talking about Virginia a lot, Julie Gunlock, mostly because, well, you live there.
They're crazy there.
And they're crazy. We just explained how the Loudoun County School Board voted 6-3 to defy the federal government and defy natural laws of biology and stick with their transgender policies, thus endangering young girls in the Loudoun County school system and endangering every student of their appropriate lack of appropriate education, because they're going to be missing out on a ton of money. And I don't know where they're going. Well, actually, I do know where they're going to get that from your tax dollars.
That's
so
right.
Get ready, Loudoun County.
Yep.
As I mentioned, we have the Attorney General, Jason Miyares, joining us at 8:35. He's running for re-election. Of course, sadly, Governor Glenn Youngkin cannot run for re-election. It is a one-term state, a quirk that some find charming. I guess I do, too. It's traditional, but something tells me it can be improved. I think I would rather have a governor be able to run for re-election, right?
Yeah, it's a difficult to set. This is a thing. I mean, conservative parents, I want to correct that. Normal, rational, common sense parents in Virginia are actually terrified right now of Youngkin's, again, common sense, rational policies being stopped if Spanberger, because, you know, I've spoken to some Youngkin staffers, and they say, my gosh, we are a veto machine, right? The things that come at him at that governor, the things that come at Youngkin, and he vetoes them. Thank God, parents would be thrown in jail. I mean, don't even get me started on the list of things if the Virginia Democrats got their way. So the idea that there isn't that stop, there isn't that veto power, and Spanberger is allowing these policies to go through is terrifying.
Abigail Spanberger has been able to convince Virginians, I guess, here in Northern Virginia, women, let's say, since you raised the question of the 19th Amendment, Julie, I mean, that's the play here. They think that Abigail Spanberger is going to bring out a huge Northern Virginia women's vote because she looks and dresses and acts like them, I guess, a white affluent suburban mom who just wants to make common sense. And she continues to dazzle the voters and the media by continuing to claim that she is a pragmatic moderate. Here's the thing about being a moderate. At some point, if you call yourself a moderate Democrat, don't you actually have to oppose one of the liberal policies that the liberal Democrats put forth?
You'd think.
What exactly makes her a moderate? What is her position that isn't radical woke left?
Well, Larry, you have a case in Fairfax where there is evidence that teachers are helping to provide abortions to underage students, and she's silent. Okay, let's take away all the issues and let's pick one. Let's pick adult teachers and social workers helping to provide abortions for minor students. Does that seem radical? Is that just one thing maybe you could come out and say something about? No, she's absolutely silent on that issue.
Yeah, and just to flesh it out a little bit more, provide the abortions without parental consent. In fact, compelling the girls in question to keep it a secret from their parents, and then paying for it
with school money, allegedly. With school money. So your tax dollars. I mean, could she maybe comment on one aspect of that?
Meanwhile, the Republican candidate, the current Lieutenant Governor, Winsome Sears, has been fighting from behind because of the polling and because of the media and because of Abigail Spanberger basically playing whack-a-mole here by just not even appearing or being available to comment. I don't think there's any debates. I'm not sure. So Sears has been using electronic media to try to get the message out and to try to hammer home the message that Abigail Spanberger is radical and dangerous. And again, we're talking about the 80-20 issues. We're talking about cooperating with federal ICE officials. We're talking about the transgender. Here's the latest ad. They're coming out with some good ads, and I think that they're running on television, I assume. Here's cut number 2.
I asked Abigail Spanberger's campaign if she would weigh in on the bathroom locker room issue, and does she support biological males competing in women's sports? They didn't answer those questions. In 2023, Spanberger also voted in favor of allowing biological males to compete in women's sports.
You were a torchbearer for LGBT rights.
For me, the question is, when did it become okay to just pick on children?
When Glenn Youngkin announced his policy to block student access to locker rooms and bathrooms that don't match their biological sex, Spanberger wrote that mandate rolls back the rights of kids to be themselves in schools.
Every chance she gets, she votes against parents, and she allies herself with people like Elizabeth Guzman, who wants to put parents in jail.
And she is for little boys playing in girls' sports and for men being in women's locker rooms. So she's not exactly a centrist.
I consider myself to be a progressive.
I'm sorry. There was a voice in there that sounded really familiar.
That makes me happy. Yes, great, good, yes. Calling it out.
I was talking about Nick Minnock. Were you in there too?
I was.
I'm kidding. No, our own Julie Gunlock is featured in the new Winsome Earl Sears ad. How great is that?
That is great.
And you're right, of course. It's all truthful. It's all factual. And hopefully this sticks. It's a powerful ad. It's really well done. Listen,
looping back to why the one term is a problem. I didn't sort of finish my thought on that. I mentioned how scared a lot of parents are that Spanberger will get in and there won't be this, sort of guard against insanity. Something gets passed in the House or Senate and goes to the governor's office and then it gets passed. I mean, this is all very scary because the House and Senate in Virginia is just, it's crazy what they're passing. And what frustrates a lot of people is that Youngkin has really improved the state, and he's listening to parents and he cares about parents, and then he's going to be gone. And there is not room for continuing these because he can't run again. There's no opportunity to continue those unless Winsome Sears is elected. And I think that break from Youngkin policies, that potential break if Abigail Spanberger gets elected, it just leads to this sort of schizophrenic policies on a state level. People are very happy with Youngkin, and hopefully that will transfer to Winsome Sears. It should. She's incredible. But I personally do not like the one-term policy. I think it causes chaos in a state.
With regard to this, listen, we have the system we've got until it's changed. So Youngkin's done as of end of this year. We're going to have a new governor. It's going to be Abigail Spanberger or it's going to be Winsome Sears. Is there what would you love to ask Winsome Sears, if you could, about what the next couple of months is going to look like?
I think what is the best way to inform people of just how radical Spanberger is. I mean, how do you convey that when frankly much of the media is against Winsome Sears?
Well, the good news is Winsome Sears is going to be our guest tomorrow at 8:35, and we'll be able to ask that question and many more. Real fast, this ad here, I can't shake how familiar this
is. In schools.
Every chance she gets, she votes against parents, and she allies herself with people like Elizabeth Guzman, who wants to put parents in jail.
And she is for little boys playing.
That's you, Julie.
I love it. Well, I'm a big fan of Winsome Sears. I am a big fan of Winsome Sears, and I think she's going to make a great governor.
Well, she clearly is a big fan of yours, as she's including your observations there in her latest ad. Let's hope it works. We got a few more months to go in this race. 6:15.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Well, the media's reaction to President Trump utilizing federal law enforcement agencies to shore up and give reinforcements to D.C. Metro Police so that our streets can be safer and cleaner and crime-free, or at least less crime-ridden. The reaction has been amped up even more than yesterday when we reported their hysterical reaction to you. Let's check in with the lunatics on Morning Joe. Take a listen to this guy.
I think it's really important to be clear about what is going on here. And a relatively small crime problem is being used for specific authoritarian purposes that we know and understand. So let's be clear about D.C. does have one really big crime problem, which was the January 6th insurrection incited by the current President of the United States, and his first act in coming back was pardoning all the people who tried to overturn constitutional republic order in Washington, D.C. When I go to D.C., I'm not afraid of losing my wallet so much as I'm afraid of losing my vote. I'm not afraid of losing my wallet so much as I'm afraid that my children's freedom to breathe will be stolen in a world where climate change policy is non-existent. I'm afraid that the future of middle-class people will be stolen by the very things you were talking about, cutting the safety net, cutting Medicaid, cutting rural hospitals.
Right.
So there is carjacking.
And of course,
let me just finish. There is a carjacking
but you got to worry about two things. You got to worry about two things at the same time.
Let me just finish my point.
I love Joe. We got to worry about that stuff. You're right, but also, what about crime? So I don't know about you, Julie Gunlock, but when a young woman who is not allowed to defend herself with a firearm in Washington D.C. because of the draconian anti-Second Amendment laws here is walking at 10 p.m. on the streets of D.C. to the metro station, and there's a gang of hoodlums following her down the street. I'm sure that the first thing that flashes in her mind is, oh, God, I wonder where they stand on climate change.
I mean, these people are insane.
I hope they don't steal my vote.
God.
That was...
yeah.
I want to identify him real fast and let you go. It's Anand Giridharadas. He's the guy who's got the hair, the white spiky up hair. He looks like the Heat Miser from the old claymation Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer movie.
Right. But also, wait, what's the Disney, the Pixar? Is it the Indivisibles?
Oh, he looks like Syndrome from The Incredibles.
Yeah. You're so good. Yes.
Yeah.
A rare pop culture failure on my part there. Yeah, he's nuts, obviously. Far too much. He's nuts. Far too much hair gel going on there. But this is what we're seeing from these elite media outlets is it's this constant insistence that you shouldn't trust your instincts, that nothing's wrong here. And Larry, I just have to say, I've seen the same thing when it comes to the transgender argument. Women, ignore your instincts, get used to it. If there is a man in the locker room undressing and obviously getting off on it, you just have to, that you're the one with the problem. We saw this with Riley Gaines and the swimmers, that they needed psychological help to get used to having to change in front of a male. Right. They're using the same tactics. And Americans need to realize that it is a sort of a psychological warfare. Ignore your instincts. This is the new reality. You might get hit, you might get assaulted, but ultimately it's not that bad. These are the new rules.
That's right. Anyone who pushes on you something that is so horrible and so abnormal and shakes you from your basic instinctive foundational core and then tells you, oh, no, this is the new normal. They're evil. Yes. They are bad people. And yes, what I'm really afraid of is walking in D.C. and losing my... And the real major violence that's happened in Washington was January 6th. Yes. That was the worst violence that anyone... And you know what? You're the mother of a kid who has died from a fentanyl overdose in Southeast D.C. You're the mother of a kid who got murdered in crossfire from gang warfare in Prince George's County, and you see this scumbag show up and say, well, January 6th was really the problem, you should be ready to throw something at your television with the insulting, despicable sort of just brushing your concerns aside, because this guy gets to do his TV hit on Nebraska Avenue for NBC because when a town car comes to pick him up and they've got armed security at the NBC studios.
That's
Give
right.
me a freaking break.
I'm so glad you mentioned the victims here, Larry, because they really are forgotten. I think about that young intern who was murdered and the family, what they must be experiencing. And then to hear this guy say this is despicable.
Half a block from the NBC studios on Nebraska in Tenleytown, a homeless man was savagely murdered by two teenage girls, and they were sent to the juvenile spa where they do arts and crafts classes, and they'll be out when they're 21 years old. And they're unrepentant murderers. But of course, no one on the Morning Joe crew had to deal with that. Well, actually, I should rephrase that. The crew did, the cameramen did, the sound men did, because they had to walk down Cleveland Avenue or Wisconsin, Wisconsin Avenue after getting off the metro in Tenleytown. By the way, real fast, CNN outdid MSNBC. Abby Phillip.
Donald Trump makes himself Batman, and the nation's capital is Gotham City.
Do they know that Batman's the good guy?
How long until Scott Jennings actually goes insane? I mean, honestly, I love Scott Jennings, but how can he sit there with her?
Yeah. But they think that's an insult. It's like, no, Batman's the good guy. Batman actually fixed the problem. I'm sorry, are we supposed to be? No, we like the corrupt mayor of Gotham City. They don't even know their comic book lore.
They don't. Exactly. Coming up, it's cow time. Keep it here. It's 6:30.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 6:37, and we've got a busy morning ahead of us here. Starting at 7:05 with Byron York, who's done a deep dive into the crime statistics. Turns out Trump actually is right about crime in D.C., as anyone with a sentient brain can figure out. Also, 8:05, we're going to get a perspective from a family-owned business owner, restaurant owner, Noah Landini of the famous Landini Brothers restaurant in Old Town. And then at 8:35, Virginia Attorney General Jason Miyares. I've said this for years now, Julie Gunlock. You want to know about the crime problem in D.C. and the disintegration of Western civilization norms and ideals? Ask a restaurant owner in D.C. The last 5 years have been a disaster. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning. Any more tests coming my way? No, we have a test for Cal.
I'm not going to touch you anymore. You're a famous voiceover artist on the Winsome Sears for Governor ad. Are you kidding me? Cal Thomas joins us now. Cal, are you shocked? Shocked to learn that there's crime in D.C.?
Who knew? Who knew? Given the condition of the schools, I'm not sure the kids could spell the word crime. C-R-I-M-E. Yeah.
That's a good point.
I mean,
listen,
this is the most, yeah.
Oh, no, go ahead. Finish your thought.
Well, I was just going to say, I was born in Washington. I couldn't help it. My mother was here at the time. And I grew up here. Listen, I remember when metal detectors was something you took to the beach to find loose change. I remember when they had only two guards, one on the Senate side and one on the House side, standing on the steps basically to give you directions. I mean, crime was something back. We had three newspapers when I was growing up, the Evening Star, the Washington Post, and the Daily News. And if there was any crime committed, it usually made the front page. That's how rare it was. Now we have, you can't walk. I remember something Reverend Jesse Jackson said years ago. You may remember this too. He said, if I'm walking down the street at night in Washington, and this is his quote, I see a black man following me, I'm going to walk to the other side of the street. So don't tell me there's no crime in Washington and there's no effect from it.
Yeah, well said. And listen, frankly, I recognize people's concerns about the federalization of law enforcement, but this is the federal capital. There is constitutional provisions for the executive branch to do exactly what's being done here, and it's necessary. I think to myself, eighth graders from around the country all come here on class trips. Thank God my last kid that did that trip, it was back in, I think, 2018, I want to say. It was a very different city then. Even then, I was not happy with eighth graders coming here, but I can't imagine school groups doing it now.
Right.
The Democrats have run Washington, and I would say there's only one letter between run and ruin, since Walter Washington, since Lyndon Johnson named him the first mayor, and we've had elections ever since. So Democrats have run the city, and now, of course, they're saying there's no crime problem. Ask the relatives of the victims. Ask the people, those two Jewish students who were killed after attending an event here in Washington. Ask the relatives of the young man who worked on Capitol Hill and was shot and killed more than once, more than one bullet fired into him. Not that that matters, but tell the relatives, hey, are you okay with more law enforcement here? I'll bet they would be. They never go into the neighborhoods where the crime is the highest. None of the TV stations do. I'm going to tell you, last night, I'm here in Washington, I'm watching one of the local TV channels, and this woman is interviewing an African-American man who is blaming Donald Trump for all of this and saying sending troops into Washington, get ready for it, is racism. I about fell out of my chair. Who are the major victims of this stuff? They're African-American people. Who are the major perpetrators? They're overwhelmingly black and teenagers. And as Janine Pirro said, they get sent to family court where they wind up taking yoga classes and other stuff, arts and crafts. This is crazy. It's got to stop.
Just staying on the crime issue here, your Tuesday column, you talk, it's perfect because parents are getting ready to send their kids back to school, and you talk about school shootings. And you say that more is required than metal detectors and locked doors. What is required to deal with this issue, Cal?
Well, this is something else that's crazy. When we were kids going to school in the Washington area, we didn't have to worry about guns. We didn't have to. You felt safe. You went out to the playground, for recess and that sort of thing. And now you got cops outside of schools. You even got cops outside and inside churches, of all things. I mean, they're shootings at churches. One of the things I found interesting in this column I wrote that you kindly mentioned is that overwhelming numbers of these guns in private homes are unlocked and available to anybody. And most of the guns that are used in these school shootings are used by people who get them from their own parents or grandparents or relatives. I mean, how can that be? I mean, this is something that needs to be contained.
Cal, real quickly, it's not getting a whole lot of attention, actually, and maybe it's because the expectations are low, but are you looking for anything big out of this Trump-Putin summit that will take place Friday in Alaska?
Not really. I mean, when you're dealing with evil, it's almost become a cliche now. Chamberlain in Munich with Hitler, we'll just give him a little bit of what he wants, the Sudetenland, and then he won't want a war. I think the better model is Reagan and Gorbachev in Reykjavik, where Reagan walked out on Gorbachev because he refused to end his what was called Star Wars missile defense. I think that's what you got to see. Putin is a liar. He's a killer.
Trump sort of projected that. I mean, at the press conference on Monday, he said, listen, I'll know within 2 minutes if he's serious or not, and if he's not, I'll stand up and walk out. So we might see that.
Yep.
We might see a Reagan Reykjavik moment, my friend.
Wouldn't that be amazing? There may be a song that could come out of it, too.
I do like the alliteration. Reagan Reykjavik. Yeah. All right. It would be a Reagan Reykjavik redux, I believe, if I may.
Boy, oh boy, that's hard to say. You can't get Elmer Fudd to say
that. Thank you, or Tom Brokaw. Thank you, Cal. Great talking with you.
Bye.
Mark Levin, weekdays 6 till 9 on 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
Cal Thomas always makes me laugh. and he's very funny, and we love having him. Katie Pavlich, our friend of the program and my colleague over at Town Hall, had a great moment yesterday on Fox to remind everybody just how bad things are in D.C. Let's start with cut 5 here. As again, just contrast this with what you're hearing from the Washington Post and CNN and MSNBC and the broadcast networks trying to downplay what's going on here. We already showed you the chief of police who literally does not know what the term chain of command means. And she is literally a DEI employee. Her last job before becoming police chief was in charge of DEI at the police department. Now here's Katie bringing up another issue.
The crime lab in D.C. since 2021 has been out of commission, basically. They've been unable to analyze forensic evidence for 4 years as a result of mishandling and corruption there. They just got their accreditation back. So 66% of the cases that could have been prosecuted basically got thrown out.
That's right. And we raised that issue when it first happened, I think, about 4 or 5 years ago when they lost that accreditation. So, lawyers can come in and say, how do you know my client did this? And they can't legitimately say, well, our crime lab, it's like CSI as a parody, right, as a satire. Katie also filled in for Laura Ingraham last night, and our buddy, a friend of the program, Greg Pemberton, the president of the police union, joined her. Listen.
Anyone that lives, works, or travels to D.C. knows that crime is ubiquitous. It exists in every quadrant of the city, and when you go outside, particularly at night, it's palpable. There's a concern for your safety, and at any time you spend time around here, you're going to run into somebody or you're going to know someone who's been a victim of crime. It's just terrible. What they're doing with the crime stats is just cutesy work where they're saying that they're using the stats from 2023, which were 30-year highs in violent crime categories, and now they're trying to say, well, the numbers have come down from there. Even if they have come down from there, which I don't believe they have, I don't think that's anything to take victory laps about. We're still averaging around 200 homicides. Last night we had our 100th homicide, just barely halfway through the year. Frankly, the city is dangerous. It continues to be dangerous.
That's right. And we're going to delve more into that, especially the cooking of the books and the lying about the statistics in mere moments with Byron York of The Examiner. Right now it's 6:53.